Well, I'm Alan Dale from Gale Force Winds, and I got to tell you, I'm very excited to be downtown Toronto in conversation with people who are truly making a difference. And I'm talking about the Career Colleges of Canada. This is a conference I'm at right now, the National Association of Career Colleges and the Career Colleges of Ontario. And I want to tell you, these people have come together because they know that they are stronger together, and indeed, a rising tide floats all boats. Now that expression is not going to mean much to a guy from the prairies, but why don't you landlocked. So why don't you introduce yourself, tell us what you do.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on today. My name is Blair Chapman, and I'm the campus director of Saskatoon Business College. And as well, I'm the chair of the Saskatchewan Association of Career Colleges. And the beauty of our national association also is that every province gets to send a representative from their association to the NACC board. So we get to provide input from Saskatchewan, for example, on the NACC board. So you've got coast-to-coast representation along with the executive of NACC. So really happy. This must be my 20th, 30th convention that I've attended, and it was funny because last night, we were going down memory lane talking about all the conferences that we've attended, whether it was Banff and we all went skiing for a day, or Victoria and we went whale watching, or we went out to the Rock and had a great time. My first time looking at icebergs, and of course kissing the fish, and so it's been a wonderful run for myself over almost 3 decades of.
Blair, talk to me. Are there many regional differences in the career colleges, or are things pretty much the same and the issues sort of percolate up the same and you look for solutions across? Tell me about that.
Well, yes and no. My experience is there's different relationships with the ministries, the provincial ministries, depending on what part of the country you're in. Mm-hmm. So for example, Saskatchewan being a smaller province and fewer colleges, we have a pretty straightforward relationship, I would say, with our ministry, whereas a province like Ontario, where we are today, very complex, over 500 regulated career colleges, right. A large ministry to work with, and certainly more complex issues than we have. But I would say, at the end of the day, in our NACC board meetings, we all agree on the same challenges. Mm-hmm. For the most part. Like we'll have say a top 3 set of challenges that we have to look at next year that we all agree is like priority for mm-hmm. us, that affects all of us.
Right.
Yeah, and one of them being, Canada's student loans.
Right.
Yeah.
The career colleges, I'm finding, they have a real interesting way of getting people ready for jobs that are needed right now, immediately, get mm-hmm. workforce ready people. Talk mm-hmm. to me about the importance of that across our country right now.
Well, you hit a good point, and especially right now because we're seeing such an influx of immigrants to the country. And you have to remember, a majority of these folks come to us with previous education, post-secondary education, mm-hmm. and many of them don't want to reinvent the wheel. They don't have any interest in going back to a Canadian university and put in all that time and effort, and they have kids often, right? And they can't afford to go to university for another 3-4 years. So we're an excellent landing pad for them to obtain short, intensive, job-related training to have a quick entry into the job market. And I'll tell you, when we first started seeing at our college, for example, we'd maybe see 1 or 2 new Canadians attending the college, and mm-hmm. and it would be a real special thing where you'd have that student from Africa right in the college, and everybody knew who it was, and now we're probably 50% new Canadian enrollment, and I admit I was quite hesitant at first because I thought, how are these folks going to take a medical administrative assistant diploma, right? With it's so heavily linguistic based, so much business communication, keyboarding, and how are you going to learn medical voice transcription, right? But I'll tell you, they have a work ethic like none other, and they get it done. They figure it out. They have they stay late. They're always the last ones in the college. Doors are closing, and they work really hard, and they get it done.
You know, Blair, whether it's an international student like you just so eloquently described, or if it's a domestic student that's in a transition and changing their path, like you say, many come with post-secondary education. It must be amazing to watch people's lives transformed in front of your eyes, because that's exactly what you're doing. I mean, I've spoken with over 500 students that have come through the career college system, and they use words like transformed. These are not my words. What does it feel like from you? You've been around this a long time, to know that you're making such an impact.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wish I could follow them more after they graduate and see how big of an impact it does have on their lives. For myself, I kind of get the news from them that, oh, I found a job in the Saskatchewan Health Authority, or I'm now working for Canada Revenue Agency or something, right? And I love to hear those stories, and it's very impactful for us as well. And I always share it with our teachers when we hear that good news. But yeah, for sure, you can hear it in their voices, you can sense it in their emails, the gratification that they have for starting their new careers in this country. It's because it's tough for them too, right? There's the language barrier, and it can be very challenging for them, and they do know for the most part that they really need to get those Canadian credentials to have a shot at those jobs in our local markets. Right. And for a college like ours, we've been around since 1907.
Wow.
We're I think the second oldest in Canada, and I like to point out that we're actually celebrating our birthday before the University of Saskatchewan. We were started a couple months before the U of S in 1907, so we're in the same club, so to speak, Centurion Club. But certainly, it's been a remarkable run for us. I'm veering a little off topic, but my grandpa bought the college from another man in 1951.
Wow.
And it's been in my family for 75 years now, and I'm third generation to run the college, and what motivates me every day when I wake up is thinking about my grandpa and the chance he took leaving the public school system as a high school drama teacher to buy this little college in basically 2 rooms on the second floor of a building downtown Saskatoon, and just taking that chance and putting in so much sweat equity to get the college built up.
Just imagine what a risk that was back then.
Oh yeah.
And to see what it is today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you must walk through the door, most every day. I'm sure you don't think about that every day, but there'll be times when you walk through the door that you must reflect on that.
Absolutely, and he'd be astounded to see, the online presence now, and computers in every lab, and
Wow.
and how the technology has just impacted us so much from those days. And when he had a room with 50 typewriters, noisy typewriters, not even electric.
Right.
Yeah, manual typewriters, he took a chance, and unfortunately, he never got an opportunity to enjoy the fruits of his labor.
Right.
He died at a young age. But then what's remarkable about the story is that my grandma, who was also a teacher by trade, took over from Grandpa and ran the college successfully for about 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, with a team of ladies around her. I mean, this is back in the day when it was the old boys club. I mean,
Right.
They couldn't even go into the Saskatoon club for lunch
Right.
back then. They weren't allowed,
Yeah.
right? And they built that college up to what it is today, and with the reputation it has by really focusing on solid curriculum, and what I think the piece that's almost as important is that they started linking them college to the National Association and getting involved in exam curriculum and participating in, the conferences and networking and learning from other, colleges and campus owners in Canada that were doing good things, and taking that back to Saskatoon and implementing it into our college. So it's having that vision to say, we got to look beyond our city, and what are other owner operators doing that we can take with us, and
which is a beautiful conduit into my next question. What are you hoping to get out of this sort of gathering of all of these colleges that have come together here in Toronto to talk about their shared experience? What are you hoping to gather out of that?
Well, like I touched on, is that you have an opportunity to network with owners and operators from across Canada that are doing really exceptional work. For me, I was always in the marketing side of things at the college, so I loved coming to these events and talking to, the Bay operators and learning what they do effectively to increase their enrollments, right? Because you can't operate on an island anymore, right? Especially now, everything's gone so global and it's so competitive, and you have to reach beyond your bubble, and so to speak, and learn from others that do things well. So that's my biggest takeaway, is the networking and learning from the really strong operators.
Blair, I always love being in conversation with a guy from Saskatchewan. There's something about folks out there that you guys can, you have such a clear vision on things, but yet you see the big picture. Maybe it's got something to do with the big land out there and the
blue
prairie
sky
and the blue sky. And
well, the old saying, our greatest exports are people.
Right. There you go.
Yeah.
Been an absolute pleasure to be in conversation with you. Thanks for being on the show.
Awesome. Thanks.